All right, so we're going to take a quick look at how to create your box and whisker plots by your graphing calculator. And this is for your TIs, your Texas Instrument guys. First thing we need is some data. So I'm going to go back to the credit card example that you have in your notes. The 17 students who have a personal credit card and how much their purchases were through the month of January. So the first thing we're going to want to do is get this data into our calculator. So hopefully you have your notes out and you can type these data pieces into a list. Doesn't matter what list, whichever list you want. So you can pause the video now and do that, and then start it back up and we'll get going. All right, so if you have your data typed in, I'll put mine in list 1. You can see it all there. Now we need to go and find our box and whisker plot. So again, it's a statistical plot. So we need our stat plot. So you hit second and then the y equals to bring up your stat plots. My first stat plot's already turned on from a previous histogram, so I'm just going to go ahead and use that. So I hit enter, it's turned on, so I'm good. Now I want to arrow down, and you see that you have 2 box and whisker plot options. There's one with some dots on it and one without dots on it. We talked about before that sometimes box and whisker plots will use X's or dots to show outliers. There's a way to calculate those outliers. And some box and whisker plots don't. The whiskers will extend all the way out to the minimum and the maximum, whether they're outliers or not. I personally like to see the outliers if there are any. So I'm going to ask the calculator to do a box and whisker plot showing the outliers if there are any. So I'm going to choose that first one. It really doesn't matter which one you choose. It's just a personal preference. So I'm going to hit enter on that guy. As you see, it's going to ask where your data is. Mine's in list 1. So you want to type in whatever list your data is in right there. Your frequency, right now with the data that we have, we're only going to count each data piece one time. So just put a frequency in of 1. And then you see there that you have a choice on how your outliers will show up. Will they be open squares? Will they be plus signs, a big dot, a small dot, or whatever? And you can choose whichever one of those you want. And now we're ready to graph. So you hit graph, and hopefully something pops up. If not, remember that you can always go back to your Zoom and hit standard number 6, and then go back in and type in and hit graph and see if it pulls up the graph that way. You may need to adjust after that over to your data. So you'd come back to Zoom and then arrow down to number 9, or just hit 9 for Zoom stat. And there your box and whisker plot shows up. You notice there are no X's or open squares or dots, because there must not be any outliers according to the 1.5 times IQR rule. Okay. Now, if you hit trace, then you'll see the cursor starts on the minimum value, and at the bottom of your screen will tell you what that minimum value is. And if you arrow over to the right, it'll walk you through your 5-number summary. So Q1 is 77.5, the median is 120, Q3 is 150.5, and then the maximum of 215. And that's it. That's all you need to know about creating your box plots in your calculator.